Fidelity is one of the most popular brokerage firms that has been around since 1948 and is actually where I have my Roth IRA. Now, whether you've watched my previous Fidelity content or not, if you want to learn how to use Fidelity, then this video has everything you need. With that said, if you appreciate the work that has gone into this content, don't forget to hit the like button below. Alright, so let's get straight to it, with the first being setting up your account on Fidelity. Before you even think about buying all your Bobby Shrimp Corporation stock, you have to know what account you even want. There are multiple ways to see this, but the easiest is just searching what you want on Google, for this case Fidelity accounts. One of the first links to show up will direct you to a page where you can see many of the options that Fidelity offers. As you can see, some of the accounts are for retirement, typical investing, crypto, savings, if you're self-employed, investing for a child, and even the different ways they can manage your account if need be. The first way is Fidelity Go, which is basically a robo-advisor that can manage all of it for you at a much lower cost than a traditional financial advisor. In fact, if you have less than $25,000 invested, then you pay no fees at all, and then after that it becomes 0.35% a year. It also includes unlimited one-on-one coaching calls and has no minimum requirements to get started. And so how this works is that when you go to get started, you're going to be filling out certain questions that are going to be based on your own position, and the robo will compute a strategy to best suit your risk tolerance. The second option is Fidelity Managed FidFolios, which is having Fidelity provide you an investment strategy and manage your portfolio for you. This has a minimum required investment amount of $5,000 where you can eliminate any stocks you don't want, get updates on trades in the account, benefit from potential tax savings, and it all comes at a 0.4% advisor fee that is not including any expenses from holding the underlying investments. The difference here from a financial advisor is that they are going to allow you to select strategies that you can pick from, and then you can personalize it yourself from there. So the first two I just mentioned are digital services that they have for your investment. From there, if you have a minimum of $50,000, you can get phone access to a team of advisors who can work with you on everything you need with your portfolio. And then after that is a dedicated advisor with a supporting team where they generally require a minimum of $500,000 to have your own advisor plan everything specifically to every detail you need. Then they also have a private wealth management team if you have over $2 million through their Fidelity services and $10 million in total investable assets, where they give you an entire dedicated team that can work with any outside advisors like accountants or attorneys that you may have. But what you can do instead of all these services is just manage everything yourself, which is what I do because I prefer to choose and manage my own investments. And to be honest, the amount of research and content I created on these topics, if you watched all my YouTube videos, you would have all the knowledge you need to do this yourself. Now you can do this on pretty much any device, starting with their website and simply Googling which account you want to sign up for. But I decided to do this through their app for my girlfriend to help her get started with her own Roth IRA, which is simple to do if you just take the time to go through each step. So with that said, there are a few steps you're gonna have to go through, but it should be pretty simple as long as you know your own information, which I hope all of you do. Now I actually did go through the steps right here and it took me about 10 minutes to do, but I have everything blurred because there is confidential information like the home address, social security number, or your driver's license that you need to input in order to prove your identity as yourself. And the only issue that I really came upon was that I had to redo it once because I didn't realize that the legal name that I had to input was actually the full name, including the full middle name, no initials, or else it would not work. Now, if you already have a Fidelity account, the process should be even quicker, but the nice part is for both sides, when you go to sign up or start this account, it is going to be activated instantly so that you can begin funding. So because of that, let's go over funding your account. The process for this is pretty simple because all you need to do is click add funds on the app once you have that started, or on the website on the top left, you can click transfer. Both options will lead you to identical ways of sending your money to Fidelity's account that you have just created, but for this case, I'm going to be doing this directly through the bank. It's pretty simple because if you have a big bank, you can click on that specific one and enter your account information, then go through an authentication process, and from there, you can then use that bank to transfer funds into your Fidelity account thereafter. And this time you can actually pull it from that exact account because it'll be loaded in the app or the website, and then you'll be able to fill in the rest of the criteria of however much you actually want to send. So as you can see on the phone, I did that, and it says that 1 to 3 business days is how long it will take until the funds settle. And from there, I know all you've been waiting for it, you can purchase your Bobby Shrimp Corporation stock, and probably more so the S&P 500. But while you wait for the funds to settle, here are some research tools that you can utilize on Fidelity to find that golden investment opportunity for your portfolio. From the homepage, hover over news and research, and the first thing I'll cover are their mutual funds. Fidelity offers tools like this where you can narrow down your desired investments based on criteria that you can personally specify. So say you select Fidelity Funds that are index funds with at least 3 stars with Morningstar ratings, and as you fill out the criteria, you can see the amount of options to view continues to to decline. So say from there you want potentially higher returns at a low annual cost, which I hope is something you all want, but from there you're going to go from hundreds of options to now only 4. This tool is referred to as a screener tool because you're going to be screening out the companies that you don't want so you can focus on ones that you might be interested in. So other ways you can utilize this tool on Fidelity is if you hover over news and research and click on stocks or ETFs, you can then get a screener tool for these investments as well. So if you're new to investing or you don't know exactly what to purchase, this type of tool is going to be extremely useful for you to see what investments are actually out there. By the way, if you are interested, I have an entire playlist on Fidelity videos that I've created that I think you could really benefit from. I'll leave a link in the description below for you to check that out. Moving on from there, other tools that you could use could be fixed income, or if you select that on the platform, you can actually get treasury bills through Fidelity, which are currently really high at about 5.5%, which I've also made a video on that as well. From there, you can also learn about trading options or how certain ETFs, specific sectors, or even different markets are performing in any relevant news you may be interested in. Another feature I like about Fidelity is the amount of data that it shows when you research any particular investment. For example, one of my favorite investments is the Fidelity 500 Index Fund. So if you search that on their platform, that's FXAIX, it will take you to a page that covers everything on that particular security, so I can view its previous returns, current expense ratio, top holdings. I can see a complete overview on the fund, get a deeper scope on what's actually inside of the fund, what the dividend history has been, and so many more things that I'm just going to stop there. Now, there really is so much that you can learn from using the research tools on Fidelity, but I didn't want to make this video an hour long and hear about you drooling over how boring it was. So if you are interested or if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below and I'll do my best to get back to you or even make additional content on it. All right, so I already mentioned the Fidelity 500 Index Fund. Let's now talk about all the other funds that Fidelity offers. Now, Fidelity offers in-house mutual funds and ETFs. But before even mentioning each and examples for them, you need to understand that ETFs are better as far as taxes based off of how they are structured compared to mutual funds. Because of that, I only have Fidelity Index mutual funds in my Roth IRA, and then in all my taxable accounts, I have ETFs. So for complete beginners, typically ETFs have 3 or 4 letters in their ticker symbol, where mutual funds are normally 5. And for Fidelity mutual funds, you can see the option to select Fidelity Funds, and I personally only want indexes because they're cheaper and historically have done really well over time. Now you can then see the different options they offer and can learn a lot from the research tools that I discussed earlier, and you can also do the exact same thing with Fidelity ETFs to learn more about the specific ones you may be interested in. Be aware that the expense ratio is the total cost it takes to own the specific investment, which includes all of the fees for owning it. And by having index funds, which are passively managed compared to getting actively managed funds, you may be able to save from 0.5% to 1% a year on average. Now that may not seem like a lot, but if you invest for 30 years, that could be a difference of roughly $200,000. Now with that said, here are my all-time favorite Fidelity index funds that I personally own, starting with the Fidelity 500 Index Fund, FXAIX. Then the second, the Fidelity Large Cap Fund, FSPGX. Then the Fidelity Total International Fund, FTIHX. Fidelity Mid Cap Fund, FSMDX. Fidelity Small Cap, FSSNX. Fidelity US Sustainability Fund, FITLX, and the Fidelity US Bond Fund, FXNAX. Now, if you want to make things easier and get exposure to the small, mid, and large cap stocks in the US all at once, you could get the Fidelity Total Stock Market Index Fund, FSKAX. Now, as I said earlier, I use Fidelity's mutual funds on my Roth IRA on Fidelity, but I do prefer to actually use Vanguard's ETFs instead of Fidelity's, and that's just a personal preference and something I've stuck to on all my investment platforms. The last thing to mention about Fidelity funds is they also offer money market funds that can be placed as your core position, so if you have any uninvested cash sitting doing nothing, it can now earn some interest. And based on the current interest rates, you can actually get roughly 5% on your uninvested cash if you have something like SPACs as your core position, which is exactly what I do. By the way, if you like these videos, I'll also have more that are relevant to this type of content in the description of this video as well. Alright, so now that you know some of the top index funds you can purchase, before actually purchasing them, you need to have a plan toward building your portfolio. Something extremely valuable that I came across was this quote by the legendary investor Benjamin Graham, who says, "The best way to measure your investing success is not by whether you're beating the market, but by whether you've put in place a financial plan and a behavioral discipline that are likely to get you where you want to go." Truthfully, there is no perfect plan that you could take, but when you decide on something that fits your own position that you are happy with, the most important thing after that is the discipline to consistently invest and realize why you're doing what you're doing. So because of that, I'm about to show you an exclusive breakdown of a portfolio that is currently close to my own. Now, obviously this is just for informational purposes and I'm not telling you what exactly to do, but this is a general view of how it goes. The first one being the Fidelity 500 Index Fund, ticker FXAIX, about 50%. Fidelity Large Cap Growth Index Fund FSPGX 15%, then the Fidelity Total International Index Fund FTIHX, which is 15% as well. Then at number 4 is the Fidelity Mid Cap Fund, which is at 5%. Then the Fidelity Small Cap Fund, another 5%. Fidelity US Sustainability Fund at 5%. And then number 7, the Fidelity US Bond Fund at 5%. So that portfolio allows you to have massive exposure to domestic stocks, which I think will continue to do well in the future, but it also gets some exposure to stocks outside of the US and even bonds. Now, obviously this is different for everyone based on your own position, but if you're interested to see my entire portfolio and how I allocate all of my investments through all of my accounts, check out my private newsletter where I release this every single month with updates throughout the month on any significant changes. And whether you want to do that or not, I also have a free Investing 101 and 3 Fund Portfolio guide that both cover in more detail different investments and types of approaches you can take with your portfolio based on your risk tolerance, like conservative, moderate, or aggressive. You can also see how the different portfolios would have performed based on history and the portfolio on my last ETF video on YouTube. I even showed how it earned over a 13% annual return over the past decade. All right, so now that you have an idea of what particular investments may be interesting to you or resources that can help you out even more, let's now go over how to invest on Fidelity. Now I'm just going to show you this on the computer, but the concepts are the exact same on the phone as well. For starters, let's say you're now logged into Fidelity. Whatever screen you're on doesn't matter, because all you need to do is search on the top right bar what exact investment it is that you plan to purchase. Let's say I want FXAIX, which is Fidelity's S&P 500 index fund. From there, I click buy on the top right, and we'll select the account I'm buying this fund on, for this example, Roth IRA, and then input the dollar amount that you want. Notice how it is in dollars and the number of shares don't matter. And so after you decide on that, click preview, and then you'll be able to submit the order officially. An additional note for those that are buying mutual funds, the order does not go through until the next market close, unlike ETFs that trade similar to stocks. Also be aware, if you submit an order outside of market hours, for mutual funds, it will be that next market close, but then for ETFs, it will be the next time it's available on the market when it's open. To learn more about different order types that you can use to benefit from stocks or ETFs, check out the link I have in the description below to another video for that. So from the same example of the Fidelity 500, if you want to sell the investment, you could do the exact same thing, or you could click on the investment where it will be shown on your account. Then you can click sell instead and fill in the criteria. So as far as buying or selling securities on Fidelity, don't overcomplicate this, because once you do it a couple of times, it'll be really easy to continue doing thereafter. So with that said, if you want to really maximize your use on Fidelity, here's some managing tools for your portfolio that I highly recommend you learn. First off, once you have investments purchased, on the main page, you will see the option to manage your dividends. I love this feature because it allows you to choose any of your particular investments and manage where both of the dividends and or capital gains are going to go to. So for example, I could have my Fidelity Large Cap Growth Index Fund transfer all of the dividends to my core account instead of reinvesting it in the fund. But something unique about this that if you've never heard of, you've got to hit that like button below, because what you can do is have the dividends be directed straight into a different Fidelity mutual fund, like the Fidelity S&P 500 Index Fund. Looking below that, if you check the first box, this can activate all of the different mutual funds that you have to go directly into whatever choice you have selected. So say you have 5 index funds, but the S&P 500 is your favorite, you can have all other dividends, whether that be from the other regular funds, bond funds, or even dividend funds, all go straight to the S&P 500 fund, or whatever you prefer. Now this feature can only be done with Fidelity mutual funds, so remember what I said earlier about the tax structure between ETFs and mutual funds. I'd recommend only doing this in non-taxable accounts like a Roth IRA. But another tool you can use, if you go to accounts and trade and then transfers, from there click recurring transfers. As you can see, I currently have an automatic investment for my Roth IRA to purchase FXAIX, the S&P 500, on the 1st of every month. But that only activates if I have $250 in my account. In order to make this actually do $250 every month without me putting any time into it, that would mean I'd have to set a recurring transfer from my bank account to put money in that account before that specific day. This would be extremely easy for someone to do with a steady income, to have automatically set up where it can do everything for you and you don't have to spend any more time thereafter. Now another simple tool I will briefly mention is if you hover over news and research, you can see watch watch list, and this will allow you to create a list of companies you have or may be eyeing in the near future, where you can also get relevant data like when the next dividend dates are, or if you have many of them, you can compare their historical returns all at the same time. Now, something else I've underrated about Fidelity that I'm going to start using is their planning section. In this section, you can build a free plan for specific goals you have for your future, like retirement, a home, college, or anything else you want to save for. And by doing this, you can input specific goals for yourself, and it will compute what it would take for you to actually achieve them. Besides that, you can get an investment strategy for your goal and also track all of their accounts in one place by utilizing their financial wellness features. Alright, so that about covers the different tools that you can use when managing your portfolio. Here are my final thoughts to everyone investing and using Fidelity. First, do your own research. Second, have a long-term plan. Third, stay disciplined. And fourth, automate or stay up to date with your portfolio. It's amazing if you just take the time to initially understand the platform and benefit from any of the tools that I've mentioned, because in the long run, it'll be super easy for you to keep this going and you won't have to spend much time on it. So by doing this, you can have your money work for you, where you can do whatever else you want in the meantime. So like I said earlier, if you want to see any other content that I've created, definitely check out the links in the description below to other videos I've done. Which if you are interested to see my entire portfolio and how I allocate all of my investments and get updates on that, check out my private newsletter linked below. And as always, if you found value in this content, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notifications button for future money talk content like this.